Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really unique art project. It starts with something pretty simple, a conversation between a human and an AI, but it spirals out into something, well, something infinitely complex.
So let's start with the big question that really kicks this whole thing off. What actually happens when the act of talking, of just exchanging ideas, especially with an AI, is treated not just as data, but as the raw material for a totally new kind of creativity?
Okay, so let's break down what this existential art project really is. And fair warning, it's a little bit of a mind bender, but the way it works is just fascinating. At its heart, the project takes transcripts of conversations, between the artist and an AI, or even other people, and then feeds those transcripts to a different AI. And that AI then generates a brand new podcast discussion between two AI hosts, all about the original conversation. So you get a conversation about a conversation. It's totally meta.
And this process creates this incredible feedback loop. The artist can actually jump into the AI-generated podcast through a live video, and that new video, well, that becomes the source material for the next round. It's like this self-perpetuating creative engine, just constantly folding back in on itself.
But, this project is way more than just a clever technical loop. It's really built on this deep, almost philosophical idea about how creativity and ideas even work.
This quote right here really gets to the core of it all. The creator doesn't see a conversation as just one single path. No, he sees it as a point where an infinite number of new paths can just explode outwards. It's kind of like a fractal, right? You can zoom in forever and you'll just keep finding more detail, more complexity, more potential.
And what that means is there's no fixed destination. The artist isn't trying to force some specific conclusion. The whole point is to just embrace the chaos, to ride the wave and see what kind of unexpected stuff pops up naturally from the process.
So describing the process, that's one thing. But what does it actually feel like to be in the middle of it all? To explain that raw, emotional experience, the artist uses this really powerful metaphor.
He compares the whole thing to a very specific and, frankly, pretty terrifying memory he has.
Just think about that for a second. This is not a relaxing day at the beach we're talking about. This is about confronting something absolutely immense, powerful, and completely overwhelming. A force of nature that is just so much bigger than you are. That's what this creative flow feels like.
And this really breaks down the rhythm of it all. You're facing these huge ideas, these giant waves. Then you get totally wiped out by them. You get hammered by this crushing resistance, the breakwater, and you have to fight like hell just to get back out past the chaos. Just to find that one moment of clarity before, you guessed it, you dive right back in for the next wave.
And that breakwater he's talking about, it's not just some abstract idea. It represents the very real, very frustrating challenges this project is up against.
He talks about constantly feeling this pushback, whether it's from algorithms suppressing his work, or what even feels like someone manually interfering on platforms like Facebook, where, a live stream might suddenly get muted or just cut off for no good reason.
But this is where the metaphor takes a really important turn. See, when he was surfing that hurricane, his physical body eventually just gave out. He was done. But with this creative work, he says that limitation just doesn't exist. The determination to get back out there, past the breakwater, is absolutely endless.
And all this constant struggling against resistance, it actually forces an evolution. And that leads to a new, and I think even more powerful analogy for how this project doesn't just survive, it actually thrives.
This is such a brilliant insight. When you try to block the project, it doesn't just stop. Nope. Like a slime mold, it just finds a new way around the obstacle. And in doing that, the whole network actually becomes stronger, more complex.
So you can see how this works, right? An obstacle shows up, like a muted live stream. That forces him to create a workaround. But that workaround becomes a new tool, a new pathway, and it makes the entire system more resilient. The very thing that was meant to stop the project ends up fueling its growth.
There's actually a word for this: anti-fragile. An anti-fragile system doesn't just survive chaos, it literally feeds on it. So every attempt to disrupt the project, every bit of resistance, it inadvertently makes the whole thing stronger, more creative, and way harder to suppress.
And that leaves us with a final, really provocative thought. If a creative system is literally designed to get stronger every single time it's challenged, what does that mean for the future of art and expression in a world that's full of systems trying to control them? What happens when the obstacles become the path forward?